Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. Today's video is going to be on the mysterious bayonet murder in West Hollywood of Ashley Ellerin, age 22. This goes back 20 years, people. This is a crime that happened, it appears to be on the evening after 8:30 p.m. on February 21st, 2001. So this crime is 21 and a half years old. Ashley Ellerin was 22 years old. It's hard to know what her hair color was. She's listed as having black hair, but most women don't have black hair. All the photographs of Ashley are as a blonde. So who knows? Sort of like Sharon Tate, a brown-eyed blonde. You never really know what's going on. I'll borrow a expression spoken from Patrick McGowan, who's featured in 3 different Columbo mystery detective murder stories where Patrick McGowan played the murderer who always had an ironclad alibi. There was one particular Columbo where Patrick McGowan played a CIA clandestine service operator who murdered another CIA clandestine service operator. That's a theme that runs throughout my videos, people. Sharon Tate worked for the CIA. Abigail Folger worked for the CIA. Jay Sebring, Tom Coomer worked for the CIA. Lena LaBianca worked for the CIA. They were all murdered. That's CIA on CIA homicide. That's featured in most films, most television shows like Columbo, Cannon, Barnaby Jones, Mannix. If you go back and look at the cop shows during the 1970s and into the 80s, you'll see CIA on CIA murder. And in my videos, you're seeing a lot of that too. Anyway, I'm not particularly saying that's the case with Ashley Ellerin, but it's certainly, there's a 50% chance that yes, it was. Especially when we're talking about a bayonet, which I think anyone who's been following my videos knows that this is a military weapon. This was the weapon used at the My Lai massacre. This is the type of weapon used at the Sharon Tate, Abigail Folger, Lena LaBianca crime scenes. Only we're talking about a dozen of these, and we're talking about them attached to rifles. So I don't want to hear any poppycock about kitchen knives or buck knives or hunting knives and people going on properties being stabbed with knives. Anybody or any video that you watch that talks about crazed lunatics going onto property with knives, just ignore it. You're talking about lunatics. You're talking about a person who doesn't know what day it is when they wake up. You're talking about mentally disturbed people. This is a military weapon. This is designed to go through ribs. It's double-edged, razor sharp on both edges. It's 3.5 inches of razor on top. It's 7-inch razor on bottom. And if I touch this thing, it will slice my finger. So I'm not going to do that. That's not true with the buck knife, which is wider and only single-edged. Not designed for puncturing ribs. Not designed for puncturing people. It's designed to cut. If you want to slit someone's throat, knock yourself out with your kitchen cutlery. But if you want to bayonet somebody 47 times, you're going to need this weapon right here. You're going to need a dagger or bayonet. It's probably going to need to be a bayonet because this is 5 millimeters thick and it won't break. Whereas any knife that's thinner than 5 millimeters and not carbon steel will bend on the ribs, and you'll need to have 6 or 7 knives. And Ashley Ellerin was stabbed 47 times, and according to the coroner, 12 of the 47 stab wounds were fatal unto themselves. So it's an excessive amount of puncturing, and I don't have the medical exam to review. I'd really like to look at it. She was 22 years old. It appears that she had just gotten out of the shower for, it appears, the second time. All right, so who is Ashley Ellerin? Okay, can't really say definitively, but there is a lot of her friends talking, and there's a book out that you can buy about it. And she supposedly grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, but then moved back to Maryland and went to elementary school back east, and then reappeared back in Los Altos in Silicon Valley to attend Los Altos High School. Now, that's the area where Aaron Valente was murdered. That is close to Stanford University. That is close to Sand Hill Road. That is close to El Camino Real. That's close to Foothill Boulevard. Los Altos. It's a very upscale, affluent part of Silicon Valley in close proximity to Stanford University. And you should know that you're talking about a military-industrial complex. And that is where Ashley Ellerin graduated high school, which I'm going to say was 1996. Then she attended UCLA. Not for long, though, because she decided to get into Hollywood, whatever that means. And she was going to go through the fashion school. So if you can believe this, Ashley Ellerin, who's attending UCLA, which is over by Holmby Hills, which is near the Playboy Mansion, a young, attractive, 5'6", 128-pound Ashley Ellerin decides to quit UCLA and instead enroll in Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, also known by the acronym FIDM. FIDM, Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. And they have a school in downtown Los Angeles, not too far from where Eric Garcetti just spent $588 million on that 6th Street bridge over the Los Angeles Aqueduct, which is now closed. It was only open for, I think, 2.5 months, and now it's closed. So you got a $600 million lemon of a bridge. And that is very close proximity to where the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising is located. All right, now where was Ashley Ellerin murdered? Well, in her home. It's referred to as her apartment. It's referred to as a bungalow. I'm just going to tell you what it is. It's a house, okay? She's living in a house, and she's sharing her house with a roommate by the name of Justin Peterson, who I think's a woman, but I'm not 100% clear on that. So let's assume that it's two girls living in a home. Now, it's a modest home, and it's located, I'll give you the address. The house that she was murdered in, where she was residing, was 1911 Pinehurst Road. That's 1911 Pinehurst Road in the Highlands of Hollywood, which is, let me help you out, it's 1 block from Franklin Avenue. She's 2 blocks from the Magic Castle. She's 2 blocks from where Charlie Manson lived in an apartment at the corner of Orchid and Franklin Avenue. Charlie Manson lived on the northeast corner in 1959 before he became a geologist for the CIA and was sent to Mexico to study soil samples. Charlie Manson. So this is long before Ashley Ellerman had been conceived, obviously. 1959. So Ashley was only 22 years old in the year 2001 when she died, which was February 21st. So she was born in 1979. So what I'm saying is 20 years before she was born, Charlie Manson was living in her neighborhood within 0.2 of a mile. In other words, within 1,000 feet of her driveway. And across the street from where Charlie Manson was living was where Charles Watson and Bernard Crowe and Rosina Kruner were living. Again, what is now a parking lot for the Magic Castle, but it used to be an apartment building. And that was on the northwest corner of Orchid and Franklin Avenue. Again, 1,000 feet from Ashley Ellerin's driveway. Now, you've heard of Janis Joplin, I'm sure. She was done away with the 1-year anniversary of Diane Linklater. Remember Diane Linklater, the 20-year-old daughter of Art Linklater, who got thrown out of her 6th floor window in West Hollywood? Well, just so you know, Diane Linklater's address, which is over by 1211 North Horn, isn't that a coincidence? 1211 North Horn Avenue. And what did I say Ashley Ellerin lived on? She lived at 1911 Pinehurst Road. 1911 versus 1211. I guess it's a coincidence. Ed Durston lived at 1211 North Horn, as did his neighbor Connie Monty, who was done away with and murdered 4 days after Diane Linklater, after the Diane Linklater memorial service. Connie Monte, the next door neighbor of Ed Durston, age 27, Connie Monte has disappeared through sleeping pills in her apartment at 1211 North Horn Avenue. That's right, I said 1211 North Horn. That is 7/10 of a mile from Ashley Ellerent's 1911 Pinehurst Road house. Walking distance. It's like a kilometer. It's a little bit longer than a kilometer. All right, so Magic Castle, 2/10 of a mile, 1,000 feet from the driveway of Ashley Ellerin. You should know the importance of the Magic Castle. You should know the importance of the zip code that Ashley Ellerin resided, which was up on the hill above Franklin Avenue, above the she's directly above the Magic Castle. You know, where things are not as they appear, deception and illusion. And to borrow that phrase from Patrick McGowan in his CIA role, when Lieutenant Colombo, Detective Inspector Colombo, is pestering the murderer, Patrick McGowan, and saying how it's confusing because people have different names, and then Patrick McGowan looks at Lieutenant Colombo and says, "Well, by now, Lieutenant, you must know that no one in our business is who they say they are." Let me repeat what he said. By now, Lieutenant, you should have learned that no one in our business is who they say they are. He's referring to clandestine services. See, that would be true because people think Jay Sebring is Jay Sebring when he's really Tom Coomer. They think that Ashley Ellerin is a lovely lady who graduated from Los Altos High School in Silicon Valley Military Complex, went to Westwood to UCLA, dropped out to join the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, moves into West Hollywood in Charlie Manson's control zip code by the Magic Castle, and she's next door to, this is a very important place. The Magic Castle was created in 1909, okay? And it was created by, guess what? A banker by the name of Roland B. Lane. A banker created the House of Deception, known as the Magic Castle. Illusion and deception, created by a banker. Why is that a surprise? Don't forget, we had The Wizard of Oz coming out in 1939, 1938-39. Along Casablanca, we had Wizard of Oz. That's a movie about banking. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Don't deviate. Listen and obey. If you deviate, the flying monkeys will get you, along with the Wicked Witch of the West flying on a broom, dressed in a Sacred Heart Order, Society of Sacred Heart nun convent habit, will get you with the flying monkeys. Okay, and don't forget this zip code where Ashley Ellerin was murdered. That's home to the Roosevelt Hotel, which was home to the very first Academy Awards presentation, which was done on May 16th, 1929. The Roosevelt Hotel grand opening was May 15th, 1927. 2 years later, exactly, 2 years later and one day, they hosted the first Hollywood Academy Awards. You know, where Hollywood presents awards to itself to promote social engineering content of film, that they want you to see movies that they create, and they award themselves the movies. Not a People's Choice Award. It's a Hollywood producer, bank-funded, approved social engineering content award. And, you know, everyone says, oh, it's so great to win an Academy Award. It's actually not great. It's humiliating. I mean, I think Marlon Brando did it best, and John Wayne did it worst. John Wayne was completely owned and controlled and appears to be a blithering idiot who actually believed his own baloney. Whereas Marlon Brando didn't believe his baloney. He knew he was an actor. He's an actor. John Wayne was an actor. He's not a real cowboy. Come on. I enjoyed True Grit like everybody else, but it was a film. It's entertainment. Hey, Glenn Campbell was great in that movie, and John Wayne didn't like Glenn Campbell's role. And I loved his role. I thought he did great. So did the girl. You know, Maddie Ross. She was great. John Wayne didn't like Maddie Ross. I did. All right, so the Roosevelt Hotel is home to the Academy Awards. Now, the Academy Awards got bounced around a few times over the last, 100 years. It started in 1929. Okay, so it hasn't been 100 years yet, but we're getting close. It's been 93 years, okay? And what was the last Academy Award at the Dolby Theater? That's 1,000 feet from Ashley Ellerent's driveway. 1,000 feet away is where the Will Smith, Chris Rock bitch slap, which was a hoax, not true, never touched him, complete hoax, just like the Ann Heche fiery car crash, complete hoax. All right, so that's 1,000 feet. It's 2 blocks from Ashley Ellerent's murder scene is the Academy Awards Dolby Theater. But before that, it was the Roosevelt Hotel, which, by the way, it's across the street on Hollywood Boulevard. It's across the street from the Dolby Theater. And the Mann's Chinese Theater. Mann Chinese Theater, the Hollywood Walk of Stars, and the Roosevelt Theater. They're all 1,000 feet away from Ashley Ellerent's house, where she was bayoneted 47 times. And the reason we know she was bayoneted 47 times is that there's no way you could stab her with a kitchen knife 47 times. It's too many stab wounds. Now, I don't know how many people were in the house stabbing her. Maybe there was multiple people, in which case the bayonet's going to need to be attached to a rifle, because otherwise you're going to stab your partner. And there's going to be more blood than just Ashley Ellerent's blood. But here's what we know about her. So she quits UCLA. She goes and enrolls in Fashion Institute of Design. Then she magically gets this apartment, which is clearly on the opposite side of Los Angeles from Westwood, which is where UCLA is. UCLA is fairly far away. It's at least 10 miles to the west. And she's moving east toward Laurel Canyon. So somebody got her that house. And I'm willing to tell you that it was a provisional house that's controlled by the clandestine services. It's kind of a rundown house in a rundown neighborhood. But by that, I mean it's going to be expensive. And I don't think that Ashley Ellerent could afford to pay the rent in this house, even with a roommate. It's directly across the street from a dog park, which COVID has closed. Everybody knows dogs don't wear face diapers, but for some reason, they closed the dog park across the street. And there's no sidewalks on this street either. So 1911 Pinehurst Road, 1 block from Franklin, and the back of the house where Ashley Ellerin was killed is Orchid, the road that Charlie Manson and Bernard Crowe and Charlie Watson lived. 2 blocks from Ashley Ellerin. In her backyard, and down 2 blocks is where the Magic Castle is. Okay? And she's up on the hill looking down at them. But beside her is what's called the Hollywood, let's see, what does they call it? They call it the Mountain Palace. They call it the Yamashiro Gardens. And it's also a restaurant. And Yamashiro in Japanese means mountain palace. And that was constructed in 1911. And you should know it was not constructed by Japanese people. It was constructed by 2 Jews from New York, from Germany, then Manhattan. And their names are Adolf and Eugene Berheimer. Confirmed bachelors, which I think when you're a confirmed bachelor in 1911, that's secret code for homosexual. Okay? That's part of the trans human movement, right? Homosexuality. That way no one will reproduce. Like the Richard Glass hair design. One of my viewers said that was his business logo. Oh, really? Well, it also happens to be the Agenda 21 depopulation agenda logo. So I don't know why Richard Glass is using a depopulation business logo, but he is. That would explain maybe why Ann Heche has gone missing, right? So Adolf and Eugene Berheimer had a wealthy grandfather who died in 1909, and he left him $2.5 million worth of real estate and stocks and bonds in Manhattan, New York. And so they also had a franchise to import Asian products from the Philippines, from China, from Japan, and from Tibet. So they did have a business that they inherited, and they had real estate in New York they inherited, but they took some of that wealth and moved to Hollywood, up on the hill, where they built this 16-room palace, mountaintop palace, which was patterned after China and the Mandarin dynasties. Okay, and when we got out to 1914, Los Angeles Times ran a big expose on this grand opening of the Mountain Palace, which was not called Yamashiro. It was not. It was called a Chinese Mandarin dynasty. And that was in July 1914. But then we had the breakout of World War I, and so people had to pick sides. Are you on the German side, or are you on, the American side? And so it turns out that I guess China was neutral, and Japan took the American or the British side. So then Adolf and Eugene Berheimer decided to rebrand their mountain palace the Yamashiro design palace after a magnificent property in Kyoto, Japan. So they basically did the old switcheroo, which is typical of the Magic Castle, where they try to guess a card and make a rabbit appear, out of a hat. So that's what they did. And that's the neighborhood that Ashley Ellerin moved into. She's got a Jewish-created Japanese Yamashiro mountain palace that she is walking distance from. I mean, she's 1/10 of a mile from them. She's 500 feet away. It's hilly. It's hilly. So she has to walk uphill to get to this palace garden. But if she goes downhill, she'll be at Charlie Manson's place, and she'll be at Bernard Crow's place, and she'll be at the Magic Castle, and she'll be at the hotel where Janis Joplin died. Janis Joplin died 3/10 of a mile from Ashley Ellerin, back on October 4th, 1970. In room 105, Janis Joplin was found dead. That is 3 blocks from Ashley Ellerin. Also, you should remember I did a video on Lindsay Perlman, age 43, found dead in her car with the radio going on over by Runyon Canyon on North Vista Avenue. And that distance is 7/10 of 1 mile from Ashley Ellerin. So we have a lot of dead people in the general area. I mean, if in her immediate area, you got Charlie Manson, Charles Watson, Bernard Crow, then you got Janis Joplin, that's 4. Then Charlie Watson is still alive, by the way. He's up in Ione in Mule Creek prison. Innocent as can be. 52 years in prison, and he's innocent. He never bayoneted Sharon Tate. No, he did not. Lindsay Perlman, mysterious, no solution. They ruled it suicide by sodium nitrate, overdose of salt. Right, whatever you say. Took him 6 months. Took the medical examiner of Los Angeles 6 months to come to that brilliant conclusion. Salt overdose. Now, what else can I tell you about this Ashley Ellerin? Well, she's a sugar baby. She's a prostitute. She's a dancer. She's a cosmetic sales lady by day, and she's a stripper at night, or she's a sugar baby at night. She had a friend that said that she danced at the Cheetah Club in Las Vegas, which is off the Las Vegas Boulevard, a couple blocks to the west on Western Avenue, the Cheetah Club. She danced there. I'm sure she danced, in clubs on Sunset Boulevard. I know there were some strip clubs there back in the 80s. She was there, in the 2000s. But so basically, she's going out on dates with Vin Diesel. He flew her to Toronto. She had to be 20, 21 years old, and she's getting flown to Toronto where Vin Diesel is filming a movie. So they're not dating. It's a sugar baby situation. Then she's dating Jeremy Sistu, who you might remember from Law and Order. He plays kind of the gruff unkempt, bearded detective in some of the newer episodes of Law and Order. And she's dating him. And this was, of course, 21 years ago. So Jeremy was probably 25, 26 years old. And Ashley is 21. You should know that Jeremy's sister was married at the time. He's married. He's married to Marissa Ryan, who's also an actress. You might remember her from HBO Sex and the City. That was one of her regular gigs. And she's the same age as Jeremy, so she's 25, 26. And Jeremy is dating Ashley Ellerin, who's 21. And he's married. And he's been married for 8 years. And after Ashley Ellerin was murdered, Jeremy Sisko gets divorced from his wife, Marissa Ryan. I don't know what that's all about, but they got divorced about a year after Ashley Ellerin was killed. So what I'm trying to tell you is that there are suspects in every direction that you go in. She also was very friendly with this Michael Gagilo, who they pinned her murder on. He was convicted of her murder, along with murdering another woman, I think, in Santa Monica. But the thing is, and he was 25 years old. He's the same age as Jeremy Sisto. But then we have Ashton Kutcher, who acts very guilty. I know he's an actor, but he does these actors like William Shatner and Ashton Kutcher, professional actors, they do some of their worst acting when someone they know gets whacked or gets found in the bottom of their swimming pool. Because the story on Ashton Kutcher is that he had a date with Ashley. So Ashton has a date with Ashley. And they had a date for 10:45 p.m. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know who goes on dates at 10:45 p.m. But Ashton Kutcher had gone to an Emmy viewing party at a home, in a private home, and Ashley had asked to attend with him, and Ashton said, no, it's just me only. And so for whatever reason, he went to this private house to view the Emmys, and then after that party broke, he was going to pick up Ashley and hang out with her, whatever that means, for their date. Maybe it means they were going to have sex. However, it wasn't like Ashley Ellerin was sitting around with nothing to do that Wednesday evening, the 21st of February, because apparently she entertained Mark Durbin. Now, Mark Durbin's an important person because he says he's the property manager of this bungalow house at 1911 Pinehurst Road. So he's like the Rudy Altobelli, the fake owner, except he's not the owner. He says he manages that property, 1911. So he goes over to, quote, hang out with Ashley between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m., where he tells the police that Ashley excused herself to take a shower while he's hanging out in her home. And while her roommate, Justin Peterson, is gone. She's on a date somewhere. She's gone. So it's just the two of them, Mark Durbin and Ashley Ellerin, who now is in the shower. Then she comes out of the shower and they proceed to have sex for 15 minutes, according to Mark Durbin. He had sex with her for 15 minutes. Then he leaves because he remembers he needs to meet his girlfriend, who's expecting to see him, around 8 o'clock. So if you believe this story, Mark Durbin is saying he's having sex with Ashley Ellerin the night she's murdered, but then has to leave because he has to go see his girlfriend. I'm not making this up. This is their story. This is Mark Durbin's story. It's not my story. So Mark Durbin said that he had sex with Ashley Ellerin for 15 minutes after she got out of the shower. Then he had to leave to go see his girlfriend. Now, Ashley, since she has a date with Ashton Kutcher, she's got to go back and take another shower. Otherwise, Ashton Kutcher might smell Mark Durbin's scent on her. Not that Ashton Kutcher would have any clue, because it looks like Ashley dates a lot of different men, including married men. Because she dates Jeremy Sisto, and he's married to Marissa Ryan. And then Van Diesel, he could come into town and need a sugar baby. So this is who we're dealing with, people. This is a girl who dropped out of UCLA and is now a student at the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. She's a cosmetic salesperson by day, and she's a stripper at night, and she's got a date with Ashton Kutcher. So the story is they were going to meet at the Mann Chinese Theater, which is next door to the Will Smith Bitch Slap Dolby Theater, which is just down the hill. So that makes sense. because Ashley, she doesn't have to get in her car. She just walks down the hill past Charlie Manson's old apartment, and she, you know, by the Magic Castle, walk across the street, walk across Franklin Avenue, and you're at the Mann's Chinese Theater. The Mann's Chinese Theater is between Hollywood Boulevard and Franklin Avenue. They're just, that's on the same block. So basically that was the deal. So I guess what happened is Ashton was driving over to the Mann's Chinese Theater, which is the Dolby Center, and there's parking area there. And but Ashley wasn't picking up her phone. Now this is around 10:30 p.m. So instead of parking at the Mann's Chinese Theater on Orchid, he decides, I will just drive to her home. So he drives to 1911 Pinehurst Road, parks his car in front, knocks on the front door. Nobody answers. The lights are on. Nobody answers. This is 10:45 p.m. And he tries to open the front door. It's locked. Then he walks around the side of the house and looks through a window, and he sees what he thinks is, Ashton Kutcher believes he sees red wine spilled on the carpet. And so then he figures, well, she must have gone out without me, and she's mad because I'm late, because I guess he promised he'd be there earlier. And his last conversation with Ashley was at 8:24 p.m. when she said she just got out of the shower. But I don't know if she mentioned that she'd already had sex with Mark Durbin or not. Sounds like she forgot to mention that to Ashton Kutcher. So Ashton Kutcher's story is he gets back in his car and drives home. Then the next day at 9 a.m. in the morning, the roommate, Justin Peterson, the roommate of 1911 Pinehurst Road, she returns home from her all-night date. So I don't know. I'm assuming this is a woman, but it could be a man. Anyway, whoever it was, they didn't stay overnight in the home. In other words, they've got the perfect alibi. They weren't there when Ashley was murdered. 47 times. And she's on the floor outside the bathroom. So I'm assuming she's nude and just got out of the bath, and she got bayoneted. And that was the red wine that appeared to be on the carpet was blood. So when Ashton Kutcher gets the news, and he testified to this on the witness stand under oath, under penalty of perjury, he said, yes, when I heard the news that Ashley Ellerin, the woman I had a date with, was murdered, I freaked out. My fingerprints were on that front door. So let me get this straight, Ashton Kutcher, television actor. Took Charlie Sheen's place on 2.5 Men. So your first reaction when a 22-year-old girl that you had a date with, when you learned that she was savagely bayoneted to death, your first thought wasn't, oh my God, I wonder if she suffered, that poor girl. No, your thought was, oh my God, they're going to blame me because my fingerprints are on the front door. That was his first thought. So what I'm telling you is I don't think Ashton Kutcher had a real romantic, loving, nurturing relationship with Ashley Ellerin, because it sounds like it was a sugar baby date, and I think Ashton Kutcher is going to be handing some cash over to her. That's what I think. I think that's like a Vin Diesel weekend in Toronto. Anyway, that's what it looks like, people. Look, when you're dating married men, you know, when you're dating Jeremy Sisto, who's married to, we could ask Marissa Ryan. I mean, she's 47 years old. You know, maybe she'll say something about it. Or maybe Jeremy Sisto can comment on his romantic relationship with Ashley Ellerin, who's a sugar baby stripper at the Cheetah Club in Las Vegas. And she's attending the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in Los Angeles. And she's living in West Hollywood above the Magic Castle. And she's living in close proximity where Lindsay Pearlman was whacked. And she's 3.3 miles away from where Diane Linklater was whacked by being thrown out of her 6th floor apartment in the Shoreham Towers. And she's 3.3 miles away from where Tony K. Connie Monty was murdered by sleeping pills by, appears, Ed Durston, 3.3 miles away from 1911 Pinehurst Road. Anyway, what I want to just calmly say now, where these murders are happening, Ashley Ellerin, okay, Janis Joplin, Lindsay Pearlman, Diane Linklater, Connie Monty. That's 5 women. They're all within 3 miles of each other. It's a historic zip code. That's where the Hollywood Academy Awards is broadcast, 1,000 feet from where Ashley Ellerent's body was found. 1,100 feet away is where Will Smith and Chris Rock did that hoax. 2 blocks away. That's where Charlie Manson was given an apartment for free rent. That's where Charles Watson was given an apartment of free rent. That's where Bernard Crowe was given an apartment for free rent. That's where a whole bunch of criminals that stayed at 1211 North Horn Avenue were given apartments for free rent, including Ed Durston, the guy who's baking cookies with Diane Linklater at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday when she goes Superwoman out the balcony onto the sidewalk on North Horn. That's where the Chinese Mann Theater is. That's where the Roosevelt Hotel is that hosted the inaugural Academy Awards, is 1,100 feet away from where Ashley Ellerin was murdered. And that is where Lindsay Pearlman was found in Runyon Canyon near the gate on North Vista Avenue. It's that might be a street, North Vista Street. Anyway, what I'm telling you is that that zip code goes back to 1909, to when the Roosevelt Hotel was initially called the Hollywood Hotel. And the Marymount Hotel is in that zip code. All right, so this is Hollywood legendary status from 1900s. And people have been getting whacked in this neighborhood for 100 years. So I guess we shouldn't be too surprised. But what I can tell you, without having seen the medical exam, any human being that is stabbed more than 20 times is probably going to have a bayonet associated with it. Just to put things in perspective, they're saying that Ashley Ellerin was stabbed 47 times. Okay, so that automatically means bayonet. But I mean, Abigail Folger was only stabbed 28 times, and she was stabbed by at least 3 people in a 360-degree pattern. I haven't seen the wound pattern of Ashley Ellerin, and so I don't know if it was in her chest, in her back, or where these wounds were. They said 12 of them would be fatal even by themselves. So it's an excessive amount, which is typically more than one person could do. But, Wojtek Frykowski was stabbed 51 times, but I believe he was stabbed by 4 to 6 men because he was big and strong, and he was fleeing, and he was running for his life. That's not the situation with Ashley Ellerin, who just got out of the shower, and she's inside her house. She's not fleeing. She's not running down Pinehurst Road. She's not outside running or trying to jump across the gate into the dog park across the street. That's not the situation. You should know that Orchid Street backs right up to the backyard of this property. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you follow my videos, always look to see if there's different ways to enter and exit the property. And at 1911 Pinehurst Road, yes, the answer is yes. There, you could exit on Orchid. It's a little bit of bushes over there, but I'll bet there's like a little rabbit trail you could get through to get up to Orchid, and no one would ever see you on that property. There's no sidewalks on Orchid either, but you could do that. You could also, the home next door, which is now a construction site, but at the time of the murder, I think it was a kind of a vacant, abandoned home. You could enter from the north side of her property. You could enter from the driveway. Well, there's not really a garage. There's a car parking area. There's no garage. It's a funky house, and it's 1 story. But you could enter from there's a parking lot on the south side. There's an abandoned house on the north side. There's Orchid Drive to the west. There's Pinehurst and the dog park to the east. So actually, this home could be entered from 4 different sides. So it's actually like a corner house. And if you know burglars, they like to attack corner homes because then they have multiple exit opportunities. And that is the case of this house. This house definitely fits the category that you could exit without being seen. Okay? All right, that's all I have for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit the like and or subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back in touch with more exciting unsolved murders. Take care. Bye.